but that can easily attract the attention of unwanted guests. This pair of cheetahs also invite their young to accompany them on the hunt. Perhaps it was a mistake. The youngsters do not yet know how to properly conceal themselves, are spotted, and ruin the hunt. A lesson to be repeated at the earliest opportunity. But the gazelles are not always so lucky. The remains of this less fortunate springbok were left for the black-backed jackal from a previous successful hunt. Water is also a scarce resource in the Kalahari. Namakwa sand grouses are perhaps the creatures that fly the furthest to find it. They come in flocks to pools whose coordinates they have learnt at some point in their lives. They are not only concerned with their own thirst, but also that of their young in nests tens of kilometres away. Which is why they dip their feathers in the water before leaving for the long journey home. This oryx seems puzzled by the confusion that the sand grouses create with their comings and goings. In the end, it decides to drink. But it remains tense, like all herbivores when drinking. Predators could always be lurking in places where they know that their potential prey will have to go. The noise and bustle of dozens of birds coming and going make it stop drinking twice. Perhaps the flock seems like a single, menacing, flying being. It has had enough of this chaos. There are also wildebeest among the large antelope that live here. Despite their thirst, they are also hesitant to approach the waterhole. The birds seem to behave like little fish that gather in a ball when threatened by predators. Huddled all together, they look like a much larger organism. Eventually, thirst gets the better of fear, but not for long. Despite being a predator, the cheetah is also cautious when approaching the waterhole. When it finally decides to drink, it remains alert and attentive. It notices that a little further on there is a jackal that dares to drink at the edge of the same waterhole. It is strongly tempted. The mother joins the offspring and decides to teach this cheeky interloper a lesson. It is probably the same daring animal that was feeding on the leftovers of their prey. It is more of a playful training session than a real hunt, but the jackal does not seem to be having fun. Another day in the bush is coming to an end. It has allowed me to observe animals such as rhinos and elephants in the wild, but also many more little things that my eyes, veiled by nostalgia for Africa, find equally charming. And now, my desire to return here is more vivid than ever, and not in a dream, but in reality. But every time I return, it will always be, and only be, as a distant relative of the man in my recurring dream, corrupted as I am by exposure to other landscapes, other cultures, other living beings. I can't help touching this large termite mound, perhaps to feel physically closer to the cradle of humanity. But no matter how much I try, I know that I could never be like the man in the dream. He is not only emotionally tied to Africa, he is Africa. He is the rivers of Africa, its lakes, its savannas, forests and deserts. This trip has brought me once more to this continent and perhaps sharpened my sweet longing. But it doesn't matter. My nostalgia for Africa is the only pain I have no desire to cure.